Hey stamping friends, it's Angie here with Too Cool Stamping. The fourth time, hopefully, is the charm. Thank you so much for hanging with me. For those who have been trying to find my class, we are starting once again, and I am so happy to be here with a new class, this time featuring the Earthen Textures Bundle. And I know you're going to love this class. It's so beautiful. It's all about thank you and gratitude, and it's just really, really lovely. So we're going to talk about the Earthen Textures Bundle. We're going to talk about the Earthen Elegance Designer Series paper. We're going to use some neutrals, adhesive-backed sequins, and then my favorite part is we're kind of having a twist on the Too Cool version this time, and I'm bringing in some Countryside Inn Designer Series paper, and we're going to redo the cards identical except with a whole different color scheme and this beautiful Countryside Inn paper. So I hope you're looking forward to the class. Again, for those of you just joining, I apologize for our tardiness. I tried 4 different times. I had lost count. We were having some technical difficulties, but it appears to be working. So, all right, before we get started, I do have a few announcements reminders basically I wanted to talk about really quickly. First of all, if you have bonus coupons that you earned last month, this is the month to redeem those. You have until the end of August. Don't forget that the kits in the kits collection are all on sale, up to 30% off. So check those out. And in case I don't remember to tell you, this particular class, the Earthen Textures live class kit, 5 cards, all the supplies to make those, that will be open through September 10th. And you'll just need to use the host code that I give you and have a minimum $40 order. And I'll give that host code to you when we turn the camera around. I wanted to also, in case you haven't heard yet, because it's kind of been an unexpected thing, I had been working on trying to get my blog site migrated to a different platform, and the plan was to do it in a couple of weeks, but I have been moved up on the waiting list, and so it had to start today, so I'm excited about that. But the drawback is I didn't have any time to really tell anybody that I would not be able to have new content on my toocoolstamping.com website for about a week, maybe a little bit longer, not quite sure on the timing. I do have a little notice on there letting you know about why, but usually when I do a class like this, then the next week or so I will be blogging about those cards, and you're not going to see that content because I'm not going to be able to do that. So I'll do my best to get some information up on our Facebook page about those cards. But you'll still be able to earn the kit just like normal, and I'll still keep you updated with that here on the Facebook group, as well as on my email newsletter that I send out. So I apologize for that inconvenience. It was a very unexpected thing, but I didn't want to wait. I didn't want to put it off since they said I was next. So, and the best part is I'm going to hopefully have a lot better website. Those of you who have been around me for a while know that I've had sometimes where my blog site has not worked for like several days or even weeks, and that's just not acceptable. So we're trying to resolve that issue. I know I've had pictures that don't show up and that type of thing. Anyway, we're trying to get all that resolved, and hopefully this little bit of an inconvenience right now will be what we need, and we'll do some tweaking on it as we go, but it'll be just in time for the mini catalog, which I also wanted to talk to you about. That comes out on September 6th, and if you have ordered from me in the recent past, you'll probably either get your catalog in the mail soon, or maybe have already gotten it in your mailbox. And if you don't know if I sent you one, or if you need one, maybe you haven't ordered from me in a while, just send me a message on Facebook and I'll be happy to send you out a catalog. Give me your address and I will get that out to you. Okay, and another thing I wanted to mention, because several people have asked me, are you doing a paper share? And yes, I am doing a paper share. Typically, I would be giving that information to you on my website, and my plan was to do it tomorrow, but that is not happening now. So I'm going to try to figure out a different way to at least open up the registration, so those of you who know all about it and want to participate and get a jump start on that, so that I can order the papers as soon as they're available on the 6th. we can get that registration going. So look for more information on my Facebook as well as my email newsletter. And if you haven't subscribed to my email newsletter, you can go to my toocoolstamping.com website. It's still there. You can still see past posts. I'm just not going to have new content on there. But you'll see a pop-up box that asks you to subscribe to my newsletter. And when you do that, then you'll see my email newsletters come into your mailbox. So right now, at least for the next week or so, that's the best way to keep updated on what I'm doing. And I will get that paper share information out to you in some way. Okay, so sorry for the inconvenience. Okay, let's get on to our class. I'm sorry that it's taken so long, and it's certainly I'm sorry for this disruption with the technical difficulties, but we'll get back to it now. Thank you so much for joining me and sticking with me. Let me get my beautiful shot of my ceiling and turn on some lights here, and we'll get ready to go with our project. So I mentioned the 5-card kit. That's what we do normally, and we'll do that again today. You'll have that host code here at the top, 9PQ2NAAA, and that will be on a $40 minimum order. Then that will get you the free card kit that has all the supplies. You just need to add your inks, your stamps, your die cuts. You'll definitely want the bundle with the die cuts and adhesives, and everything else will be in your card kit. So let me show you, I'll start out by showing you what is in this beautiful suite. It starts with the Earthen Textures stamp set. Again, it's kind of a gratitude stamp set, so it's kind of good for all year round, but I think it's especially awesome for fall, and the papers are beautiful for autumn as well. So it starts out with, you have a couple of pots, you have some different leaves and branches that you can put in there, some really nice clean sentiments that go with it. Then this is my favorite part, are the dies. The dies just really make this bundle and make this suite. Not only do you get some outlines that you'll be able to cut out your foliage to put in your pots, and you get the outlines of the pots as well. You get some decorative pieces that you can put on the pots, and then some additional die cuts that you can add to your pots. So lots of different ways that you can make little bouquets in your pots and your vases, and different ways that you can cut out patterns and textures. And then the paper on top of that is so awesome. Let me show you that. This is the Earthen Elegance paper, and it's just so fun to use with the die cuts. You know, this to me, you'll see one of our cards actually uses this paper for a die cut pot. So lots of fun textures that you can put not only with the foliage but the pots. Beautiful, rich, earthy colors. And we'll be using a lot of these papers on our cards today. So here it's a 12 by 12 package. You'll get 6 different double-sided sheets, 2 each of each style, like normal, like their beautiful packages or papers always are. And then I mentioned, well, let me show you the rest of that suite. This is a beautiful trim. This is called the wavy, natural wavy trim, I believe. But it's kind of a braid, almost looks like a macrame look, but it really accents your pots very well. And then it didn't come with, and the suite doesn't have any particular embellishments, but I found that the neutral Adhesive-Backed sequins are beautiful with this particular bundle. You get a white, you get a gold, a copper, and a dark brown, almost like a almost an early espresso, but it also kind of looks kind of coppery too. So we'll be using that on our cards. And then if you don't use those, when you're creating on your own, and for one of our cards, we're using the In Color dots, and we've used these on several projects, and I absolutely love them. They're just they have a lot of the same coloring as this particular suite, so this is another good embellishment that you can try when you're doing your own card making. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, our 2 cool versions are going to be with the Countryside Inn Designer Series paper. So let me show you what that is. Also beautiful. And all kinds of blues. It has the Night of Navy, it has Misty Moonlight, Boho Blue, and Balmy Blue. So beautiful patterns that coordinate so well. You also have, there's some little, I didn't know it at first, but like this has little fox in here. So you get some little animals in here that kind of makes it a little more interesting. But not all of the pages have little critters in them. This one has some birds. And they just kind of remind me of, you know, pottery, porcelain pottery. So I thought it'd be fun, these bunny rabbits. I thought that'd be fun to use. It also kind of looks like wallpaper a little bit. So, did you guys have any of the, maybe I'm dating myself here, but my family had blue plates with some crazy blue design on them. Anyway, that's what it reminds me of. So we have the two cool versions of that in that style. So let's get started with our first card. And this one is one that we've already seen. If you've been to my toocoolstamping.com blog, you've already seen it. But I'll show you how to put it together. It's going to start with Pebbled Path in the traditional card size, 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. Then I have another piece here, and I'm going to have to measure as I go because I completely forget what the measurements are here. So it's 3 3/4 by 5, and this is gray granite. We're going to add some pieces of the Earthen Elegance Designer Series paper, and this is 3.5 by 3 1/4. We'll put that at the top, and then another piece here that's 3.5 by 1 1/2. So we'll add that with our seal adhesive. And just leave a little edge here, little border. And right where that seam is where I'm going to add a piece of the copper textured ribbon. And I'm just going to secure the ends on the back. So I'll wrap that around just for a little pop of contrasting color. And then we'll add the whole thing to our card front. Now, if you wanted to, you could pop this up. I'm just going to add it with some seal. All right, so there's our background. And I like this because I kind of made a little room in my mind. This is kind of the wallpaper, this is kind of the floor, and then we're going to set some pots on the floor. So the first thing I did was I die cut one of the tall pots in pecan pie, and it goes up pretty high, I noticed. So I actually, for several of these cards, just trimmed it off just a little bit. Let me see about how much I just took my scissors and trimmed it off, made it a little shorter. And then there's another die in there. Oh, before I go to the next thing, I wanted to show you this texture. Can you see this texture on this pot? There's like a wavy striped line. Hopefully that light is catching. So that is one of the dies here. It's not really a die, it's an embossing texture that you can add. Just run it through like a die, but it adds just a little subtle texture to your pot. So I thought that was really fun. So there's that piece, and then I added a handle. This is gray granite, and I'm just going to add, that's a die cut from the Earthen Textures die, and I'm going to add that to my pot. And you know, you can add this at the top, make it a little bit taller, however you want to do it. There's so many ways to mix and match. That's my favorite thing about stamping. And with the die cuts, there's just lots of different layers and textures and patterns. All right, so there's one pot. Then I have this other one that I've already die cut, and it's in gray granite. This time, I am going to stamp on it to put a texture on it. I'm going to use Pebbled Path, and I'm going to use this coordinating stamp. Now, usually we're stamping on cardstock and then die cutting around it. This is a little bit different. We've already got the die cut. There's a little bit of an edge there, kind of a finished edge. And then this stamp is actually larger than the pot. So you can just go right over the top of it, and then you get the texture over the whole thing. So look at that. So now you have the texture covering the whole pot with no little border or outline around it. I love that. Just something a little bit different with this set. Okay, so now let's fill the pot. We're going to, and I'm going to save some time here because there's a lot of different parts and pieces, but I've already die cut Pretty Peacock, a little leaf for that. There's a little twig here, and this is in copper clay. Then I stamped, and I'll do that for the first card, and then we'll move on for all the rest of the cards I have already pre-done. But we're just going to stamp this shape in pecan pie, and then we had another shape here in gray granite, and I've already die cut those. So those are ready to go. Lots of die cutting, like I said. The die cutting really, really makes these cards. So let's take all of these pieces and add them. The first one, we're just going to put a little seal, and we're going to add that to this pot. So here's one pot, and then this is going to be kind of several of them together. So let's put a little seal on this one in the back, and then we're just going to start adding however you want to. Just make a little bouquet. Let's move this. Hold on a second. Whoop. Let's go like this. Then we'll make this one come right up the center. And you want to make sure, this is part of the reason why I had to cut that pot down. Whoops, I'm going to need a little bit more sticky. Okay. So that's all stuck to the back of that pot. This is why I cut that pot down, because you want that to kind of go up a little bit higher. Actually higher than I even have it. So kind of position it on your card. I tell you what, I'm going to do this. Just to put a little bit of seal on there and keep it where I want it. Stay. Okay, and I think I'm going to pop the rest of this up. So let's do that. Let's get some dimensionals. We need some dimension, right? So I'll add some dimension on the pot. And also the back of that one branch. And we'll pop that up. All right, there we go. And then we'll add this one also with some dimensionals. And I'm just going to put this one, let's say right here. And then to save some time, I already did the stamping of one of the sentiments. You always know just what to say. And I'm just going to add a little bit of seal and put that right across the pots. And then we'll add a couple of copper. There's two sizes of the copper, and so and these are called neutral adhesive-backed sequins. So I'll add that for a little bit of glimmer, and there is our first card. Now let me show you my Too Cool version. And this one, I have a friend, Peggy, who helps me design cards, and she designed this Too Cool version to go along with it using Balmy Blue for the background card base, some Misty Moonlight, 2 different patterns of the Countryside Inn, Balmy Blue vase or pot. She used the complete fullness, so she didn't cut any off the top. She used a Misty Moonlight handle, and she actually added the wavy texture to both the handle and the pot. This one is Boho Blue stamped in Misty Moonlight. There's some Balmy Blue foliage coming out, Boho Blue. I can't tell if that's, I think it's Misty Moonlight stamped and die cut, and then a Night of Navy fan leaf for the background, and then she used those in color dots with the Boho Blue. So really pretty. You can see just how different those 2 versions are. It's so fun to just experiment with different colors and patterns with this one. Okay, next card. We got to keep moving along because there's lots to show you. All right, this one starts with the Pretty Peacock traditional size card, 5.5 by 8.5, score at 4 1/4. And then this one, I have a piece of crumb cake that is 4 by 5 1/4, and it's embossed with the Timber 3D embossing folder. Before I add that, I'm going to add just a little piece of 4 by 1 copper clay along the bottom. I found that even though my designs kind of look a little similar, I liked having some kind of a weighted element that reminded me of a floor, or where the pots could sit, somewhere where the pots could sit down. So that's just my personal taste. I didn't want the pots floating around, I guess, on a lot of these cards. So we'll add this texture to the front. All right, and then we're back to creating more pots. So this time I have the same small pot shape. I'm going to stamp on that once again with Pebbled Path to get that texture. And this time I'm going to add a little handle in the same gray granite, but I'm going to add that a little bit closer to the top. So right there. So I kind of extended the length of that one. And I want to finish that one by adding a little bit of that wavy trim to decorate it. And I love this wavy trim. You can use it as a background element. It doesn't really tie very well, but it looks so cool just wrapped around a pot as a little decorative element. So little extra texture. So we have that as one of our pots. And then I mentioned with the Designer Series paper that you can just use the die cuts directly with that paper. So here's another pot with the full size. I don't know if I did it the full size or not. Did I cut it? I did cut a little bit off again. I found that they were a little bit too tall for me. Again, that's something you can just decide how to design your pots. And then I have one more. This one is just Pretty Peacock die cut of that small size. And again, I'm going to cut that way down. So this is going to be a little tiny pot. All right. I've already pre-cut and stamped a few different pieces here. So I love this little, it's like a feathery look to me. That's in Pretty Peacock. This one is in gray granite, and I cut it down really far already because I already knew I was going to have it short. And then another one of those Pretty Peacock kind of, fan leafy ones. I don't know what to call them. They're like branches, I guess. So I'm going to add that to this one. This is going to be on the background, and then we'll pop the other two up. So I'm going to make that one live about right here. And if you want to, I'm just trying to save some time, but I actually would use a little bit of the Tombow. Let's just add a little bit right now. Just a couple dots down the center of your leaf and hold that in place. That'll keep that nice and tacked down. You can be a little more, you know, have a little more than I did there if you want to make sure everything's all nice and secure on your card. Okay, next up I have this little card. And again, I think it would probably be the best if you use that liquid glue. Is going to, once it dries, it's going to make that stay on there a little bit better. But we're just going to go with it. And I'm going to add this little leafy bunch onto this one, and we'll pop it up with some dimensionals. Oh, also a couple on the leaves. All right. So this one is going to go right about here. Let's go right about here. And then the final one is this little tiny pot. Oh, I don't think I mentioned that I embossed it with the quatrefoil tile. So if you can see, there's a little bit of a texture on that, which I thought was fun. Again, I'm going to add this. I'm going to cut this way down and stick this out of this little tiny pot. And again, pop that up with some more dimensionals. And then we'll finish up with a little, I should have had that, I'm going to show you my original card because I liked how it turned out a little bit better. So just a little kind of a trio of pots there. I've already stamped my thank you in copper clay, and I'm going to pop that up with dimensionals as well. And that's just going to go flush to the left there to fill up that space. We'll add a few of our gold little sequins here. And that is, I'm going to show you my original one because I like the positioning a little bit better. So this is that first card, or that second card. And then let me show you the Too Cool version of that one. Again, this one is made from, Peggy made this one again. So thank you, Peggy. But I love how she has the boho blues for the background. She has kind of a wallpapery look in the background, boho blue. She used some of the Night of Navy or Misty Moonlight, I can't remember the name of it, bordered ribbon maybe, and a little bit of stamping on there. She used the, oh gosh, I forget the name of it, but this is a new embossing folder that is very similar to the quatrefoil, but it's like distressed tile or something. I can't remember. I'll have to look it up. I'll make sure I put it on the details. This one is Balmy Blue. This one's stamped in Misty Moonlight. This has Misty Moonlight and then some Night of Navy. And then here are some additional sequins that I think they're from either the trio or the 4-pack of, can't remember the name of those. You know, I have to say some of the embellishments are hard to remember because the names are so vague. So I forgot to look up what that was. But anyway, I'll find the name of that one, but it is in the embellishment section. So check that out. Anyway, those are our Too Cool versions of that one. Hopefully you liked it. All right. Next is a fun fold card, and starts with a piece of 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 pebbled path. Then we have another piece here. Let me give you the measurements on this one. This is 4 by 8.5, and it's scored at the 3¼ inch mark. So that will go like this, and it's going to sit on top of this card base. We're going to add a piece of designer series paper. This one measures 3 3/4 by 3. And this is copper clay. I don't know if I mentioned that. So we'll add this to the front. And this is going to be kind of what I would call a modified joy fold card, because usually a joy fold is something that kind of a horizontal look to it, but this is going to be vertical. So here's the first part of your card, and then our second little piece here is gray granite. It's going to be 2.5 by 8, and it's scored at 4. So just in half there. Let's use our bone folder and make this nice and crisp. And then we're going to decorate this piece. So let me add this to our card first. We're going to put some seal on the back. We're going to open this part up, and this is going to be centered with the flap opening like this. So it's going to kind of do this. So usually a joy fold card would open like this, but we're doing it on the vertical. All right, then let's just decorate very simply. This is a piece of 2 1/4 by 3 3/4 basic white as our background. And then I've already die cut all my elements just to save some time. This is a stamped leaf in copper clay. We have our pot in pebbled path. I die cut this little decorative element. I'm going to add that to the pot with some multi-purpose liquid glue, just some little tiny dots. And put that right across my pot. And you want to let that just kind of sit and get nice and secure on there, and then trim away. I should be using my paper snips. Those work so much better. I didn't let it dry. If you just hold it in place for like they're not 60 seconds, even 30 seconds, we'll just set it down and let it set a little bit, so it'll be tacky and it'll stay in place. Okay, so those are 2 of our elements, and I also stamped a little sentiment here with gratitude. That's in copper clay as well. And I tied a little bow in linen thread, and we'll add that. Do I have some? Doesn't look like I have my glue dots. Usually I have my glue dots, and I would just add that with a glue dot. So let's go ahead and combine all of our pieces. So it's just a lot of die cutting and then combining, assembling. Pretty much for every card. So I'm going to pop it up once again with some dimensionals. And we'll just add that right to the front. And then let me show you how I finished it up, since we're kind of waiting on this to dry. Here's my finished card. I added that linen thread bow with a glue dot, or you could use just a little dot of the liquid multi-purpose glue. I added my little sentiment right across the bottom there, and then I added some of the dark brown, or in my opinion it's kind of like a dark copper. Really matches the copper very well, but could even match the early espresso. But I added those, and then I added another little coordinating sentiment. So it says, with gratitude, your thoughtfulness is much appreciated, and some more leaves at the bottom there. So that is the third card. All right, and Peggy also created most of this card. I finished it up, but basically the same look. We have Night of Navy, Boho Blue, a nice pattern from the Countryside Inn, Night of Navy again, and then I don't think we put a, oh yeah, we did just put a sentiment on the inside, but it's navy with misty moonlight, and then the Night of Navy bordered ribbon and the in color dots, and then misty moonlight for the leaves. So really, really pretty. And there are 2 cards. Okay. The next card is another fun fold. This one is a gatefold. It's been a little while since I've done one. We start with 5.5 by 8.5, and it's going to be scored at the 2 1/8 and 6 3/8 mark. And just as a little tip, the way I like to fold these, when you use your bone folder here, fold one side first, then take the other side, and if you just fold it without really thinking, and sometimes it overlaps or sometimes there's a gap. So what you want to do is make sure that it's nice and flush, edge to edge with the other side, and then burnish that score line. And that way it'll eliminate whatever gap, make sure that it's nice and flush there for you. Okay, and this is Early Espresso, which is not really one of the colors that is advertised to be a part of this suite, but it really does go nicely with a lot of the papers there. I have another piece of Early Espresso. This time it is 1 7/8 by 5 1/4, and it's embossed with the exposed brick embossing folder. So I'm going to add that to one of the gate panels. And then on the other side, I have the same size, same measurement of Designer Series paper. So it's 1 7/8 by 5 1/4. I just thought this paper looked really, really nice with that Early Espresso. All right, and then once again, we're gonna make a little focal point background and add some pots. So here is a piece of gray granite. This is 2 7/8 by 3 7/8, and this is 2 3/4 by 3 3/4, and it's very vanilla. So we'll just add that as our background. And you could actually stamp some of these stamped images directly on this background, but I really liked being able to stamp the images that I liked and then die cut them, and then it made it really easy to assemble the pots that way. All right, here's our background. We're going to add this with dimensionals onto our card front. So we want to flip that over, and you're going to want to make sure that your dimensionals are only on the left-hand panel. And I probably would normally use more dimensionals than that because I'm a dimensional freak and I really like to make sure that things don't ever, kind of bow or anything like that. So here's our gatefold. And then let's get all of our elements again. So this time I have another pot, and let me see how, and I pretty much cut the top off of this one again too, about 1/2 inch, 3/8 of an inch. And I'm gonna use this texture, which is just kind of a distressed texture look, on Pebbled Path again. Again, it's larger than the die cut, so it's gonna stamp edge to edge. So there is that pot with a really pretty texture. Then we have our small pot, this time in copper clay. I'm going to do that same texture again that I did on the other 2 cards. And so that's my little pot. Our little pieces again, this time I have Early Espresso. Pop those little pieces out, and it's on very vanilla. I have a petal pink this time, goes really nicely with the copper. And then I love this huge fan die cut. And the thing that I found really fun was it has some different embossed lines to it. So if you want to, you can kind of bend those for a little bit more dimension to the leaf. So can you see all of that dimension with that leaf? I just absolutely love, love, love it. All right. So this is going to go up here in the corner. Let me see how I did this because I kind of forget. It's been a while. So again, I'm going to start building from the back of this pot. We're going to add this piece first. We're going to add this piece second, like so. And then we'll add some dimensionals. Lots of dimensionals. All right, so you can kind of see there, it's just a common theme for every card. You just get all your little pieces, decorate your little pots how you want to, and then assemble the pots and tack them onto your card. All right, so there's the first one. The second one with the little feathery leaves, excuse me. And this one we're just gonna add right onto the background with seal. And I'm gonna kind of just tuck that in there behind. And then the final piece is, once again, the sentiment, which I've already stamped, and this is in Petal Pink cardstock with Early Espresso over the top. And this is gonna go, oops, I'm gonna need a dimensional or two to pop that up because I have two different layers. So a little bit of seal on one side and dimensional on the other, and then you can just add that. Let's go like this. All right. So there is our card. I did add, let me show you my finished one. I added a couple of the white sequins, one to each pot, as part of the decoration of the pot. So super, super cute and fun. Let's look at the Too Cool version. This is one that I put together for this class, and again, just used a different piece of designer series paper. We used Night of Navy was the base, Night of Navy for the textured exposed brick, boho blue for the pot as well as the sentiment, Misty Moonlight for the pot and this larger leaf. This is in boho blue, this is in Night of Navy. Some of those really cute sequins or embellishments again that I can't remember the name. So that is our Too Cool version. I'm hoping that you're really loving the different versions of those. All right, final card. And this one's pretty simple to put together. And this one, I am pretty much casing a card that I received from Sandy Carlson, so shout out to Sandy. This is Gray Granite, traditional card base. I have a piece here of 4 1/4 by 2 in the Pebbled Path. And I'm just gonna add that across the bottom. Again, I just kind of make a little something for the pots to sit on. I just felt like they needed some kind of a shelf or a floor or something. So here is what they're gonna sit on. I'm gonna have a little strip here of Misty Moonlight, just to give it a little pop of color right above there. And of course I need to trim this because I just can't stand for that to not be flush. And sometimes it just doesn't want to line up, so we'll just cut it right off. There we go. All right, there's our background. Then we're going to create a second layer of background, this time with a little piece of Moody Mauve. It's 3 1/4 by 4 1/2. and we're going to add 3 different pieces of designer series paper to that. So this one, again, this is the Earthen Elegance paper, 1 by 2 3/8, so a little tricky with the dimensions, but it's all going to fit together so nicely. We'll leave a little bit of a border. Next, we have a piece that we're going to put right next to it, so it's 2 3/4 by, I think it's 1 7/8. We'll put that right next to it. And then the last one is 3 by 1 3/4. That's an easier dimension. I love it. And then we'll add that to the bottom. All right, we're going to pop that up with dimensionals. So again, lots of dimensionals. And add that to our background. So this is kind of a second level of background. And I have all the rest of our elements already cut. I have a Stylish Shapes gray granite circle that's die cut. I have another, this is Pebbled Path, using that small pot, and then I used the Basics 3D embossing folders. That's a 3-pack of embossing folders that are online exclusives, and I love, love, love this cross hatch diagonal texture. It's so, so pretty, and I thought it looked really cool as a pot. So that is already die cut and embossed. We have a little twig here in copper clay, and then that nice fan leaf with Misty Moonlight. So again, let's add our little copper clay piece and our fan piece right out of the top, and more dimensionals. And before I put that on my circle, I'm going to actually add the circle with some seal onto the background. Now woo! I'm having a little trouble with this particular seal not advancing, and I think part of that is it gets a lot of goopy stickiness on the edge, and then it causes it to kind of make it so it doesn't want to roll. So it's just something I need to clean up. You can always just advance it with your finger a little bit though. Not a big deal. All right. Then we're going to add this pot. We're going to finish up with a little sentiment that I've already pre-stamped, and I'm just going to banner cut the ends. So go up the center and then corner to corner. You could just leave it straight on the edge if you wanted to, but every once in a while I like to use a little banner. Makes it kind of cute. Put a little seal on it right across this part. And then we'll add a few of the Pebbled Path in color dots. Looks so nice with that, just as a little finishing touch and shiny element there. So that's our last card. Again, thanks to Sandy Carlson for that really cute design, the layout of it. And then I did a Too Cool version, this time in Misty Moonlight, a little bit of Night of Navy, boho blue strip across the back, balmy blue for the outline, 3 different patterns from the Countryside Inn paper, Misty Moonlight, Night of Navy, boho blue, balmy blue, and then balmy blue for the sentiment. And this time I used some iridescent pearls. I thought that really looked nice with a little pop of white there. All right, that is our class. Let me bring out the cards that are going to be in your kit. So remember, you're going to get all the pre-cut card pieces for making the 5 cards that I shared with you. And those are the cards. So you're going to get everything that you need. I will have most of the die cuts that are not stamped will be already done for you. Some of them that need stamped will also be done for you because those are the stamps that go over the edge of the die cut, so you don't have to line them up necessarily. So those are going to be done ahead of time for you. The only ones you'll need to do on your own are the ones that are stamped branches and then die cut. So you will need die cuts for those, or you can just cut them out by hand. So you'll get all the parts and pieces. You'll need stamps, ink, adhesives, and then dies if you want. And then you'll get the embellishments, all the ribbons and things like that. Remember to get your free kit for these 5 cards. You just need to place a $40 order with me. And I would normally send you to toocoolstamping.com, which you can go. Actually, you can go to toocoolstamping.com, click on the Shop Now link, and you can go in and find my online store that way. Even though I'm not adding new content, the site's still live, so you can still go that way. Be sure to use the host code. This is on the shopping cart page. There's the checkout page. You can add the host code right there at the top, 9PQ2NAAA, and that will make sure that I know that you are looking for this particular free kit. This offer is going to be open until September 10th. That's a little bit longer than I normally do it, just because of this whole blog website migration, and people might not be seeing the class in the same way since I don't have my blog being updated. So I wanted to make sure that everyone was aware of it and had the opportunity to earn the class kit. So it will be open till September 10th, and then I'll mail it out by the 13th. So hope you liked what you saw today. Again, I'm sorry for the rough start, but hopefully you were able to join us and enjoy the cards, and I hope that you enjoy them on your own as well. Thanks so much for taking the time and stamping with me today. Until next time, I will talk to you soon. This is Angie with toocoolstamping.com. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.